"Your wife's quite a looker. You, old man, should go home," sneered one of the four men, likely gangsters, surrounding me and Jane. The apparent leader, with a bald head, shoved me hard, and I found myself on the concrete, though thankfully unhurt. While I could easily take them down, I couldn't do so in front of Jane. As I assessed the situation, to my surprise, Jane stepped forward to confront the gangsters. Little did I know, this event would soon reveal a shocking truth. "Hi, I'm Tom. I'm 50 and manage a cafe. I've been in this role for 6 years now, thanks to a strong recommendation from my retired previous boss. I met my wife, Jane, at work. She's younger than me, but surprisingly, she made the first move, and we've been together for 3 years now, married for 6 months. Janice, easygoing, always laughing, and her presence brings comfort. I feel a strong urge to protect her. However, I have a secret I've kept from her. Before we met, I served in a highly classified Special Forces unit. Not the kind you often hear about like Navy SEALs or SAS, but a covert unit known to few. I've been involved in undercover missions and espionage worldwide, doing whatever was necessary, even things too grim to mention, leaving haunting memories. Assigned with targets, I eliminated individuals of all ages, regardless of innocence. Resistance wasn't an option. Completing the mission was imperative. However, I reached a breaking point. I fled. The burden of disrupting and ending lives became unbearable. Upon expressing my desire to leave to my superiors and government officials, they initially resisted, but my fervent pleas eventually led to reluctantly accepting my resignation. Transitioning to civilian life after a history entrenched in combat and deception seemed daunting. Opting for a quieter existence, I found solace in a cafe job despite my limited knowledge of it. The serene ambience provided respite from perpetual tension. Embracing this new routine, I found companionship in Jane, a fellow part-timer. Much of the tranquility I now cherish stems from her unwavering support. Her genuine care and instinctive assistance in times of struggle alleviate any burdens without fostering dependency. She's often so mature that it's difficult to distinguish her age from mine, and her outgoing nature frequently helps bridge connections between others and me. Occasionally, I wrestle with guilt for concealing things from someone like Jane. But I can't bring myself to disclose it to her. She must remain unaware. I simply cannot bear the thought of disappointing her. Then, as September drew to a close, Tom, a new part-time employee, motioned towards the table nearest the entrance, informing me, "There's a gentleman who'd like to speak with you. He's seeking the manager." It's quite common for customers to voice similar grievances, yet most of them ease off once they feel listened to, managing through the supposed 6-second burst of anger with grace, then concluding the interaction with a gentle tone. That's the fundamental approach to addressing complaints, as passed down by the previous manager. I head towards the table, rolling my eyes internally. Sorry for the wait, I'm the manager. And upon seeing the man's face, I'm at a loss for words. "Hey there." The man smirks and raises a hand in greeting. It's been a while. Through his sunglasses, I can see he's giving me a mocking look as he scans the room. "So, you're the manager now? Moved up in the world, haven't you? How did you know I work here? Come on, have you forgotten our line of work? Tracking people down is our specialty, remember?" He chuckles and takes a sip of his hot coffee. "I don't want to remember those times. I've left my past behind. I never want to revisit it." "So, you're saying you don't want to see me? That's a bit cold for an old friend, don't you think?" "You're not an old friend. You're a former boss during my Special Forces days." He was also the commanding officer, and under his directives I carried out undercover operations numerous times. Tom was ambitious to a fault. Though skilled, his abrasive methods often caused friction, leading to his eventual expulsion from the unit. I don't like beating around the bush. I'll get straight to the point. Will you help me? I decline. Ha ha, you answered right away, Harry, showing no signs of discomfort. Laughs heartily. Come on, don't rush to conclusions. It's a lucrative offer. Your cut would be $1 billion. Even if it was $1 billion or 100 billion, I'd still decline. Listen to me until the end. You know as well as I do that we've been involved in some pretty sketchy jobs. We had numerous assignments related to the core of the government. Naturally, we came across national secrets more than once or twice. You can probably guess where I'm going with this, can't you? So, you plan to blackmail the government using those secrets? Exactly. I'm going to get a cool $700 million. For the government, it's just chump change. I figured as much. Trying to threaten the government, that's ludicrous. But if anyone could do it, it would be him. He's always been that kind of guy, ever since back in the day. Anyway, I'm going to have to decline. I'm working right now, so if you'll excuse me, you got married, didn't you? As I was about to stand, Harry insinuated something. You better take good care of your wife, huh? What do you mean? Easy there, don't give me that look. You wouldn't be thinking of making a complaint against a customer now, would you? Staring down Harry, who was grinning maliciously, I couldn't help but wonder. Is he thinking of using Catherine as leverage? It's hard to gauge how much he knows about me, but if he knows where I work, it wouldn't be surprising if he's aware of my family situation. After all, it's not beyond him to take hostages. He's, after all, the kind of guy who would try to blackmail an entire country. Look, I'm not asking for an answer right now. I'll be back. And when I do, I'll fill you in on the specifics. Harry, slowly rising, casually slipped a $10 bill into my shirt pocket, giving me a pat on the shoulder as he left. I noticed a part-time worker eyeing us with concern, and I just gave them a reassuring smile. With Harry's threatening invitation weighing on my mind, I found it hard to focus on work and kept dwelling on it throughout my shift. I left work a bit early and hurried home. I'm home. I couldn't let Jane sense what had happened today. Trying my best to act normal, Jane asked. Something happened? Jane, always keen on picking up the smallest changes in emotions, probably noticed a slight change in my demeanor. Nothing, just another day. Jane didn't press me further after I denied her question. With a puzzled tilt of her head, a gesture that always suits me, I head to the bathroom. Submerging myself in the bathtub, I ponder over Harry's personality. That guy's dead serious. Whether he's dealing with a whole country or dragging me into the underworld. He's the kind who goes all out, takes pleasure in pushing people to the brink. That being said, I've already refused him, even if he asks again. My answer won't change. I reckon he knows me well enough to know that, so he won't keep pestering me for a response. And while I'm eager to ensure Jane's safety, I doubt the police will provide protection at this point. If I can find an answer, it's pointless to dwell on it. Right now, I should focus on my work and protecting my life with Janie, but just when I thought everything was fine, my hopes are soon dashed. The next day, as I clock it in like usual, one of the staff rushes over, flustered, brushes over, flustered. Tom, there's a complaint that's a bit out of hand. From her disjointed explanation due to her panic, I couldn't grasp the full situation. All right, tell them the manager will be right there. Have them wait for a bit. Leaving her with that, I head to the locker room to change into my uniform. After about 2 minutes, I approach the table where the complaining customers sit and find 2 men who look like typical gangsters. You took forever. How long were you going to make us wait? My apologies. I'm Tom, the manager here. From what the staff told me, the complaint seems to be about a delay in serving their order. The kitchen staff mentioned it's only been about 5 minutes, so it seems like the customers just want to pick a fight. I was informed by the staff that there was a delay in serving your meal. Yeah, we've been waiting for hours. What kind of training do you give your staffs in this place? According to the staff, they said they only kept you waiting for about 5 minutes. But if I felt I waited, that's too damn long. What's with that attitude towards a customer, huh? The bald man slowly stood up and roughly grabbed my tie. You realize we're made men, right? You get that, don't you? The man menacingly leaned in close. What a hassle. Hesitating for a moment, he suddenly let go of my tie. Relax. We don't mess with ordinary folks like you. He patted my shoulder twice and began walking towards the entrance. Another guy followed the belled man, and as I sighed in relief, they kicked over another customer's table. This is our regular joint, you know. If we see you again, take it as a sign you want to be buddies with us. All right? I was speechless at their audacity, but I can't just stand here and do nothing. I told the other staff to call the police and approach the men. Gentlemen, the police will be here soon. Could you please wait inside until they arrive? But they weren't fazed. We're from the outlaw crew. We'll let it slide today, but if you involve the police, things won't end so easily for you. Got it? A gangster with a deep, menacing voice making threats. Indeed, I should minimize the damage. These guys aren't reasonable, and there's a real chance they won't stop at just public harassment. I stood silently. The bold man smirked and left the restaurant. I already had a headache dealing with Harry, and now the local gangsters have set their sights on me. Just as I become the manager, all these problems keep popping up. Talk about bad luck. Isn't this just a result of my own doing? Am I not just paying for my past sins? Noticing my increasing size, even at home, Jane suggested we take a day trip for a change of pace. Lately, we hadn't even been going out together much, so I quickly agreed, and we headed to a hot spring in the neighboring state of Nevada. On the way, Jane was giddy like a child, seemingly trying to cheer me up. I tried to act strong so she wouldn't worry about me. She probably noticed I was forcing it, sometimes showing a sad expression, but there was nothing I could do about it, neither about Harry's issue or the gangsters. I felt overwhelmed by my own powerlessness. Maybe, deep down, I believed I could handle anything. Was I secretly proud of my past and the special forces? Lost in these thoughts, before I realized it, it was evening. Our attempt at relaxation was a bust, and we started heading back home. And then, as if to add insult to injury, another disaster struck us. The couple. When we returned from our day trip, there were 4 suspicious-looking gangsters standing in the parking lot in front of our apartment building. I recognized 2 of them. They were the same guys who caused a ruckus at our cafe the other day. When they noticed us, they approached with smirks on their faces. "Your wife's pretty, huh? Why don't you get lost, old man?" the bowed man said, leering at Jane. I closed my eyes and sighed heavily. Just when I thought our bad luck was over, we were confronted by 4 gangsters right in front of our house. Annoyed by my reaction, a tattooed gangster shoved me hard on the shoulder. I lost my balance and fell, landing on my butt on the concrete. It didn't hurt. More than anything, the real pain was the embarrassment of showing such a pathetic display in front of my wife, Jane. The realization sent shivers down my spine. The moment I was pushed, my usually well-mannered wife seemed to undergo a dramatic change. Now, when I say she changed dramatically, I don't mean she started shouting or screaming. Even from behind, her expression was hidden, but it was obvious she was angry. Jane stood face to face with a bald man who was over a foot taller than her, something from the gangster. Without changing her tone, Jane muttered as the man tried to grab her. He suddenly found himself in midair. He probably didn't even know what hit him. The gangsters watching nearby probably couldn't comprehend what had just happened. As the man reached out, Jane seized his wrist and with a swift move, using her petite frame, she threw him to the ground. It was a move similar to what you'd see in martial arts, but her technique was somehow more practical. It was precise and designed to deal maximum damage. I'd never heard Jane had taken self-defense classes. Yet, from what I've seen during our time together, I've always felt she had wisdom beyond her years. She must have faced hardships I'm not aware of. Looking down at the man who remained seated on the ground, showing no intention of getting up, Jane whispered in a soft voice, "Should I finish you off?" I think I could hear one of the intimidated gangsters gulp. Jan quickly turned and rushed over to me. "Are you okay?" She gently offered her hand, and with her help, I finally managed to stand up. The smiles were gone from the gangsters' faces. They must have realized the gravity of the situation. The suspicious and likely fearful looks directed at Kafirin were evident. Frozen in shock, the gangsters forcefully made the bowed man stand and quickly fled the scene. They retreated without uttering a final taunt. "I've gotten pretty hungry. Cooking now would take some time. How about we order pizza?" It was the same old Jane, always kind and attentive, and even if I made a mistake, she'd forgive me with just one smile. My lovely wife Jane was there. Sounds good. It might be a nice change. Responding to my slightly awkward agreement, Jane said, "After dinner, let's talk for a bit." We got some takeout and finished our meal. During dinner, we chatted about random things, carefully avoiding the earlier incident. Once dinner was over, and after cleaning up a bit, Jane sat across the table from me. I don't like prying too much, but I've got to ask again, did something happen? Honestly, I was caught off guard. I had assumed she would tell me something about her past, or how she learned those moods. What do you mean by something? I think, Tom, you're trying to keep me out of it to protect me, but remember, we're a couple. A couple? Exactly right. We fell in love and became husband and wife. That's why I didn't want to disappoint her or burden her with my troubles, let alone show weakness. To me, being a couple means more than just being lovers. It's about being family. It's like being two sides of the same coin. So if something serious is going on with you, I think I should know and deserve to know. I could tell she wasn't just saying this out of mere curiosity. She was choosing her words carefully, trying to make it easy for me to open up. The gangsters from earlier, do they have something to do with the way you've been acting off lately? She was always so sharp. It felt silly trying to hide anything from her, as if she could see right through me. Indeed, hiding any longer wouldn't change the situation. More importantly, since they know where we live, Jane might be in danger, and there's a chance they might take her hostage. Eventually, gathering my courage, I started to recount the events of the past few days, in order. However, I wanted to keep my time in the Special Forces a secret, so I only mentioned Harry as a former boss. Listening silently until I finished, Jane gave a nod of understanding and smiled warmly. "Thanks for sharing with me. You don't need to carry this burden alone anymore." She stood up from her chair and softly placed her hand on my shoulder. "I appreciate you worrying about me, but you, Tom, should just do what you can. Whatever you can't handle, I'll take care of, so rest easy." She winked awkwardly and then headed back to her room. The next day, spurred on by Jane, I pondered what I could do on my end. For now, Harry would be fine. I probably won't be reaching out to him, and unless he approaches us first, there's nothing to be done. So, my immediate concern was how to boost the sales of the cafe that had seen a drop in customers. Word spread quickly about the gangsters causing a scene, and revenues from our regulars had dropped by more than half. After all, people come to a cafe mainly to enjoy a relaxed atmosphere or to have pleasant conversations with friends or loved ones. First things first, we needed to restore that environment. I obtained the security footage from that day and visited the local police station. It appeared that the gangsters from the notorious gang had been causing quite a bit of trouble in this town, and even the police were struggling with them. I brazenly asked if an officer could be stationed at the cafe, but understandably, they declined. However, they agreed to include the cafe on their patrol route, so I arranged for that to start the next day. Then I signed a contract with a private security firm. Even with a security guard present, it seemed unlikely that professional thugs would be deterred, but their presence would at least provide some reassurance. The real aim wasn't just to keep the gangster away, but also to make the customers feel safe. While the response of a security guard in an emergency might be limited, their mere presence would not only reassure the customers, but after seeing the evidence, he reluctantly agreed. With that, I'd managed to create a safe environment for the cafe. Given that our place was originally popular as a calm and relaxing cafe, as long as incidents like the recent one didn't occur again, the foot traffic would surely return. That being said, merely waiting around won't bring customers in. I decided to tap into social media. However, I'm pretty clueless when it comes to online stuff, so I asked Jane for her help. She has a wide network. I've personally met over 40 of her friends, and she apparently has over 400,000 followers on social media. Immediately, we created an account for the shop and began posting. With Jane's help, we spread the word, and it went viral. The power of social media was incredible, and in less than a week, sales were back to what they were before. The shop is quiet, but lively again, and those gangsters hadn't shown up since. I stood up to their aggressive tactics and counted men head-on. It's all thanks to Jane. Her support allowed me to foil their plans. Then, a thought crossed my mind. Why did the gang target my cafe in the first place? Was it just random? Or was it someone's command? Then, one day when everything was going smoothly, hey, it was an unexpected visit. It was just past 2 in the afternoon after lunchtime, and there were hardly any customers in the shop. I came to hear your answer. Without waiting to be seated, Harry took a seat at a nearby table. He gestured with his chin for me to sit across from him, and I complied. You know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. Have you decided to cooperate? Harry leaned forward slightly, looking smugly up at me. If I refuse, what are you planning to do to my wife? Do you really need to hear it from me? You know what I'm capable of from our time in the unit. Harry looked exasperated. It was clear he still felt confident. He probably believed that no matter what was said, I'd ultimately submit to him. I'm not a fan of beating around the bush. Just give me a straight answer, yes or no. Of course, the answer is no. Harry paused with his mouth slightly open for a few seconds. It seemed my reply took him off guard. I see. Come to think of it, you might have been a cold-hearted guy back in the squad. I'm not sure who you're confusing me with, but it's not that I don't care about Jane's well-being or that I won't follow you. It's quite the opposite. Opposite? How do you expect to protect your wife by turning me into an enemy by refusing my help? I'm not interested in what you're planning. Whether you swindle money from the government or whatever you decide, whether you fail or succeed, that's your business. But if you plan to harm me or Jane, well, I have plans too. Harry Spruforos. It's his tell when he's gearing up for a fight. I don't mind if you target me, but targeting Janice, something I'll never forgive. She's saved me countless times before. Yet I've done nothing for her. So, I don't just want to be given things or just be protected. This time, I want to protect her. No, I will protect her. Absolutely. All right, let's save the lovey-dovey couple talk for another time. Look, in a way, we used to be boss and subordinate, right? I came here out of respect, as much as I can muster. I offered you a pretty good deal, and there's no downside to working under me again, just like the old days. You really never change, do you? Harry forces a smile, keeping his face neutral, but I can tell he's a bit on edge from my remark. What do you mean? Your emotions, they always show in your gestures and facial expressions, just like before. What's your point? No matter how self-aware someone is, they can't always control their unconscious movements. In this man, he can't take criticism or advice from others. Even if you point something out to him, there's no way he'd change. You're planning to make me the scapegoat. The information you're using to blackmail the country is probably something only ex-Special Forces personnel would know. That's why, after achieving your goal and getting the money, you'll probably pin everything on me and vanish, maybe go overseas. If they trace it back, you're worried you might get caught. That's why you chose me as your accomplice. That's just your speculation. I would never. On what basis do you say you would never? I've known since the beginning you've always been the type to throw your subordinates under the bus. Harry just silently stares at the diner's clock. This silence is probably the best confirmation that my guess was right. I get how you feel. So you're not going to help me, huh? I've been saying that from the beginning. With a look of annoyance, Harry let out a sigh, pulling out his cell phone from his pocket and dialing a number. The ringtone can be heard. While waiting for the other end to answer, Harry says to me, "It's a real shame. Who would have thought you were this dim-witted? I feel bad for your wife. She must deeply regret marrying a guy like you." The ringtone continues to play. Seems like the person on the other end isn't picking up. I bet you're trying to contact your card gangsters underlings, aren't you, Harry? I'm ready for whatever comes. Like I said before, if you try to harm me and my wife, I've got plans of my own. What sort of plans? Harry shickles mockingly, but after hearing my next words, his smile fades. I'll take you down. Try me. I've got no clue what you're planning, but bring it on. Even though I've retired, I was a member of an elite squad. I have ways to end someone's life ingrained in me. I swore never to hurt anyone again. No matter what, I vowed not to go back to those days. But if it's to protect Jane, that's a different story. I'll show that I can protect her. I'll show that I can protect her, no matter what it takes. Even if, in the end, she comes to despise me. Then, it seems the person he called Finley pick it up. Hey, took you long enough. Get moving, it's go time. Target the wife. Slowly, I rise from my seat. It's been a long while, so I might not know how to hold back. Well, with this guy, there's no need to go easy. I need to wrap things up here quickly and go help Jane. I told her to take refuge at her parents' place just in case, but there's a chance they might head there too. Hey, respond. I can't right now. We're in deep trouble here. What are you talking about? We've been taken out. Our crew has. What do you mean? Explain yourself. It was that woman from before. Our crew was taken out by Tom's wife. Pathetic. And you call yourself a gangster? Did she bring some rival gang with her? It was just her alone. Help. Then the call ends. Harry seemed to be in a state of panic, but honestly, I was even more flustered. Jane took out the gangsters. That Jane must be some kind of mistake. Darn it, none of these guys are worth a dime. It was rare for Harry to raise his voice, but he seemed quite frustrated. I'm tired of this mess. Gonna have to plan everything from scratch. So, does that mean we won? If he's gonna back off from us, I don't feel like messing with him anymore. With this, we should finally get back to peaceful days. But there's something I gotta take care of first. Saying that, he reaches into a different pocket than the one he took his cell phone out of, seemingly trying to pull out some weapon. I braced myself, ready to react before he could aim it. Just then, several men pinned Harry from behind. Who the hell are you guys? They're from the Special Forces unit you used to be in. Emerging from behind the men, Jane, as if to show her face to me and Harry, took off the hat she had pulled low over her eyes. Jane, why are you here? Vor, Harry, looking more surprised than I felt, stared wide-eyed. Do you two know each other? Harry, who seemed quite annoyed, suddenly burst into laughter, responding to my question. Ha ha ha. You got me. Never thought your wife would be her. I didn't see that coming. You're even more clueless than me since you were kept in the dark. Even as he lay bent to the ground, perhaps due to his strong pride, Harry couldn't stop laughing. I'll tell you who she really is. She's just like you, a former member of the unit. But I am. It's no wonder you didn't know. Her primary mission was covert operations. The unit you were in had a completely different role and required different skills. Jane was in the Special Forces. That Jane. See my confusion? Jane smiled, with an awkward look on her face. I'll talk to you later, okay? I promise. With that said, Jane shifts her gaze to Harry. They're not as lenient as the police, of course. American laws don't matter to them. Regular imprisonment is too soft a punishment for them. You know that, right? Damn it. If I knew you were the bride, I did wrong by those gangsters. Guess they are not ones to be messed with easily. From the outside, backup officers come in, and Harry is taken away. He seemed to want to say something, glaring at me with resentment, but in the end, he leaves the cafe without uttering a word. Jane, I'm sorry for everything. I must have worried you. Like I said, I'll explain everything when we get home. Yeah, I'll tell you everything too. Jane shows a sweet smile. Well, let's see off our former boss now. Yeah, we should. I silently watched Harry's retreating figure. This wasn't a moment for a salute, and I felt no obligation to give one. Sure, he had his issues, but there's no denying he was competent. There were times I admired that man. Thinking about it now, I do feel a bit of melancholy, but he really went too far. It was probably fate that things ended up this way. As memories of our time in the unit flashed through my mind, Jane delicately gripped the hem of her skirt and gave a gentle bow. Good day. Whether that was her version of a salute or not, Jane saw off Harry with a poised gesture. Ironically, Harry was taken away by the very special unit he belonged to. I'm now an outsider, so I have no way of knowing what kind of punishment awaits him. Jane. Being well acquainted with them, might know, but I don't particularly want to pry. However, as Kafirin said, it won't just end with him going to jail. They'll probably use every method at their disposal to extract all the information from him. The thought alone is terrifying. Still, he had lived life recklessly, so it's his just deserts. I have no sympathy for him. On the other hand, the gangsters who were giving us trouble were apparently decimated by Kafirin. Though they weren't that big of an organization to begin with, every one of them either ended up in the hospital or jail, making the gang's survival impossible. Regarding that, Jane said, I might have gone a bit overboard, with a cute laugh. I won't delve too deep into that. Even if they were just hired by Harry for money, they deserve to face the consequences for their countless misdeeds. So, the various issues that troubled me for days came to a close thanks to Jane's remarkable efforts. It wasn't just me, you helped, and many others too, Jane said modestly, but she brought down again single-handedly while I felt I hardly contributed in comparison. That's not all. We're two halves of a whole. We're married after all. She mentions this while trailing me, then attempts a wink. Typical Jane. How many times has her quirky side saved the day for me? So, you knew everything about my past? Yes, I knew it all. Just like Harry mentioned, she seems to have been in a different unit than me. She was extremely skilled, to the point where they wanted to keep her, even considering laying off other team members and giving her a pay raise. But then, why did someone as capable as her end up with someone like me who doesn't stand out at all? I felt you were really serious, Not in a bad way, of course. I could tell you took training and such seriously, but more than that, it felt like you faced life with a lot of sincerity. Embracing life with sincerity. Reflecting on moments when I unapologetically took so much from strangers, her words resonate deeply within me. In our line of work, it's easy to start taking everything for granted, even life itself. But Tom, you always confronted it head-on. That's what attracted me to you. So I made the decision to leave and follow you. She left because of me. I must have really angered her superiors. Then I ended up joining the same place you did. I could have told you the truth, but you seemed to want to leave your past behind. I thought maybe you wouldn't appreciate having someone around who serves as a reminder of that past. But I wanted to be close, so I thought staying silent was best. Her tone is so nonchalant as she speaks, yet the more I listen, the more foolish I feel. I suppose Harry was onto something. It's not like you were oblivious, Tom. It's just that I was good at my job. Well, half kidding. But truly, just being near you brought me happiness. And now we're even married. It's all so surreal. I can't help but chuckle. Laughing, huh? Laughing is liberating. Rather than dwelling in regret and forgetting to laugh, facing forward with laughter leads to a richer life. And I learned that from Jane. Thanks to her constant smile, even when I couldn't muster one, I've found true happiness. It's not an exaggeration to say that who I am today is all thanks to Jane. Conversely, my ability to remain cheerful is all thanks to you, Tom. Marriage truly is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Jane, not one for serious conversations, always finds herself wondering what's happening. It's just that I was good at my job. Well, half kidding, but truly, just being near you brought me happiness, and now we're even married. It's all so surreal. I can't help but chuckle. Laughing, huh? Laughing is liberating. Rather than dwelling in regret and forgetting to laugh, facing forward with laughter leads to a richer life. And I learned that from Jane. Thanks to her constant smile, even when I couldn't muster one, I've found true happiness. It's not an exaggeration to say that who I am today is all thanks to Jane. Conversely, my ability to remain cheerful is all thanks to you, Tom. Marriage truly is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Jane, not one for serious conversations, always finds herself wondering what's happening.